live and less than an hour late. Welcome to beautiful, I think this is the fourth ring and seventh pocket of hell. But it's not, there's beautiful people here and I'm sitting next to one.
Good morning.
Yes, we are a little bit late, and I don't know how long I'm going to go sitting, because it's very hot, and I'm sitting in a car, and I just probably want to go get into Sprouts and walk around and put a watermelon under my armpits, and
he's lying. He hardly ever goes in, but today he probably will go in for part of it after he speaks with you. Walk through at least.
So I'm going to.
We're in for a 2-week super heat wave where it doesn't even cool down at night and there'll be squirrels dropping out of trees.
Okay, I'm turning it on you. I'm turning on you right now. Oh, there she is.
Turning on me, honey.
So,
but when I least expect it without warning.
So, good morning, dear.
Good morning. I have had 3 sips of Lon's coffee because I usually don't drink my coffee until afternoon. So, my 1 cup of coffee. So, I thought he was going to say something first about what he was going to do this morning. But never mind. I thought he was. We had Monday night class last night, the 3rd one. And people were very enduring. They endured things. It was very hot, and it was a sweat lodge, and we cried, and I swear that the heat must have, I think, improved people's visions. It distilled. I think their brains boiled, but other than
yes,
that,
I think it was fried brains, but the visions were great.
The visions were great, and it was only a couple of hours. You could always say, this is over in 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then, for some reason, we got really crazy because we only had a protein shake because I was very busy. I'm taking care of a neighbor's house for 10 days, a yard and flowers and plants. And so we just had a week did a full protein shake before class instead of our dinner, and so I made us we were nuts. We made put tuna and Persian cucumber sandwiches with mayonnaise and had potato chips
and fresh plums and apricots.
From class. I can't remember. I apologize. I remember someone wonderful
from class. Yeah.
Well, brought from someone else, and I can't remember the name of the one. Fresh plums and apricots, which were like nectar from the gods. They're wonderful. Anyway, so we had that for dessert. So we were eating like at midnight or something crazy, and then I took another bath, did dishes and cleaned up everything, the teacups and everything, and took another bath because I couldn't sleep. Anyway.
It's not getting
an unnecessary story.
It's not getting all that. It's not cooling down that much.
No. So anyway, we had a wonderful time at class last night, and
I'm going to talk about it today too, a little bit.
I'm going to talk about my vision a little, just because it seems relevant after this morning's news about the Supreme Court, which seems to be making a lot of errors that are going to have to be repaired.
Work on what has been spoiled.
Anyway, but I didn't know that when I had my vision. But mine was, because I'm not that much into Enochian, but I tend to get visions.
And this was the 30th.
I close my eyes. Never mind.
Hang on for a second. And for those of you keeping magical track, last night we scried the 30th Aether, the very lowest one. TEX. And everybody, or we were hoping they would contact the angels in TEX. There's 4 of them. They're called governors, actually. And so that's the frequency of consciousness we were all working on. And Constance, this is what she got when she dove into that level. Okay, you're back on.
I'll tell you a part of it.
Okay.
Because it was TEX. I saw it like Texas Hill Country and dried up stuff, and a river going through it, and the river automatically turned into the river Styx. And years ago, we went to
High Wycombe.
I think it was Clive Harper took us back to I think this is my favorite memory of all my trips to England, which is, oh God, was he took us to Sir Francis Dashwood's Hellfire Club caves under a beautiful church and a wonderful, spooky, little charming, good-feeling graveyard. Above, all these things are above the caves, and then this long chalk road that he dug the caves out, and all the way to London, the straight, and the view is. Anyway, it was a perfect memory I have. But I got such a. First, I have no idea why. That's one of my favorite.
Benjamin Franklin partied there with
it was all the. It was the hype. It was the enlightened politicians of the day, and other people, I suppose, that were enlightened, would have secret parties in these caves, and there was a little river Styx running, and you got to walk over it.
Yeah, it's so cool.
There was a Benjamin Franklin party there, and people of his ilk. They all had a good time, and they had women come from London on these boats dressed as nuns with badges that said love and friendship on it, which I always dressed as a nun at parties. So
they were like Playboy bunnies, except they were in nun suits.
That's awful. Don't put it that way.
Oh.
I think they were probably, anyway, who knows what they were. I didn't get any badges.
They were good sports.
Yeah, but
yes.
That too. I mean, and who wouldn't be around Benjamin Franklin?
Yeah, geez.
But other than that, and anyway, I had my vision was that they were coming. The people who were there were coming. They weren't dead, and they were walking across the river Styx in the other direction to give us like a message, because we are in deep doo-doo times, which I didn't even know about this Supreme Court thing. I mean, I knew they were doing horrible things, and other things were, but the worst peculiar crowd. Anyway, to tell us, give us some advice on how to handle this situation when we're like this, and it said something like, they were telling us something like keep abreast of the situation, pay attention really carefully, don't ignore it because that's silly, but kind of best to keep a low profile and get together with people, like-minded people and friends, and discuss things so you kind of know what to do when a situation pops up that you don't really not expect. But mostly the whole thing was, but through all of this, to be of good cheer. To be of good cheer. Now it's not like me to say that.
Oh yes, you're one of the most cheerful.
I'm the wine of life.
Cheerful.
Lon calls me the wine of life.
You're the most cheerful person I know.
So, well, I am Pollyanna, and it's Pollyanna-like,
yes.
but it's only half the time. The other half the time, it's completely the opposite. So it wasn't really like me to say that. So I'm going to say, through all these troubled times, don't ignore the situation. That's not the kind of be of good cheer. Don't put your head in the sand and get extra interested and study things and sharpen your brain, because you're going to need it, and your body, and be of good cheer.
And try to hang out with friends like Benjamin Franklin. And
oh God.
It was a cool moment in time, a cool moment in history, and
it was a revolutionary time.
And it was a revolutionary time that required.
That partially succeeded.
Yeah. So.
Of course, everything only partially succeeds.
Okay, you're back on.
Oh, it partially succeeded. So.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think I'm through. I have a sweater because it's hot it's not hot in the stores.
Yeah, it's 41 degrees in the store. maybe in the high 30s actually.
No, actually, well, it does seem it's their job to keep the food safe.
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay.
Can I go now?
Thank you, dear. Yes.
I'm starting to glisten.
But hurry back. Okay.
Oh.
Hurry back. Okay. I'm going to set up my camera here. And because we're an hour late, there's probably only just a few of the die-hard, loyal, supportive. Thank you for holding on.
Yeah, speaking of supportive,
yeah.
Monday night class have been excessively supported and made a difference. I don't think I've been that good to deserve that much, but never mind.
Monday night class has been very generous. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to go now.
All right, dear.
Tell a wonderful Enochian story.
I'll tell a wonderful Enochian story. Well, my vision was of the old alfalfa mill in Columbus, Nebraska, just north of town, and it billows smoke and they make
smoke. Fragrant steam of
fragrant
making alfalfa
steam.
pellets.
Yeah, it's not really smoke, and they're making pellets for animal feed out of alfalfa. And is that your mask, dear?
Yes, please hand it.
Okay.
People do not need to see me in there. No.
So don't let them know who you are.
Oh, they know.
But anyway, very seldom in an Enochian vision, and you got to remember that it was 90-some degrees in the house. We had a couple fans going, but it wasn't. We didn't have air conditioning. It was uncomfortably hot, and but the fans kept it a little bit breezy. But we were all sort of in an altered state of consciousness just because of the heat. And Constance was joking when she said sweat lodge, but it was sort of the dynamics of a sweat lodge going on last night. And I got instead of immediately seeing a vision of some kind or hearing a word or a snatch of a song or something, like many of my visions begin with, it was the smell of real live smell. Not that I was smelling with my nose, but I was smelling it with the center of my brain. And it was this alfalfa mill. We used to be sort of downwind. Our house in Columbus was every once in a while downwind of the alfalfa mill, and I could smell this. It's almost like a very earthy green, almost like matcha green, earthy smell. Sort of like bad commercial marijuana used to smell like, a little hint of that. And it would leave, the steam would leave a green film on the roofs of houses and businesses near the alfalfa mill that sort of looked like not quite thatched, but grass roofs, because it was a beautiful color. And then my vision continued from there, because I went off on why was this smell and why was the word alfalfa going through my head. And of course, AL is God, and alpha. Okay. There's all sorts of Kabbalistic shit going on with AL and LA repeated, and with a Vav in the center and an Aleph at the. Oh yeah, I just went off on crazy Kabbalistic shit. But anyway, it was a wonderful class, and I'm going to share just a brief little snapshot of it, because it's still sort of fresh on my mind. There is sometimes confusion, especially early on, when people are already kind of familiar with the Golden Dawn initiatory climb up the tree of life, where just to oversimplify things, each of those 10 levels of the tree of life represent a frequency of consciousness, the lowest one, number 10 being, sort of like the material plane consciousness, where we're moving in, limited dimensions and stuff like that. And then as we go to 9 and 8 and 7 and 6, it's like the frequency level of consciousness is like turned up, like you're turning up the volume on a radio, but more like you're turning to a higher frequency of a broadcast channel, and at the very highest frequency of that is God consciousness itself, this consciousness of the singularity. And all of those 10 levels are just major landmarks of the frequency dial. So it's easy when you're thinking about that, because the Kabbalah has a whole hierarchy of little subdivisions of that consciousness that serve as the executors of that particular reality, if you will. And those we could call angels. There's a subdivision of gravity that is a drop subdivision, and then there's a slide. So if you know, so there's infinite fractalized hierarchy of sub-frequencies within those 10 levels. Okay. When people start to study Enochian magic, especially as it's practiced on a practical level today, they said, "Oh, I'm not ready. I don't even have a grasp of the Kabbalistic world. I can't grasp an Enochian world. I just can't shift worlds all of a sudden." Look, there aren't multiple. It's the same world we're dealing with. We've only got one, okay, that we can access and play with either by the Kabbalistic way, or that we can access and play with and attempt to understand in the Enochian way. And they don't easily refer neatly to each other. But because we've only got one consciousness to work with, because we've only got one universe to work with, and because we only have ourselves as the one tool that we use to access both ways of looking at things, they do mesh. And in the way the Enochian system of magic, at least as it's being worked with today, instead of having 10 levels of consciousness that's looking at this one, the full spectrum of frequencies, instead they look at it as 30 sections. Okay, but they're not steps on a ladder going from 30, 29 all the way to 1. Instead, they incorporate and admix all of the lower levels. I'll give you an example. Let's see. Here's a tree of life. Now, there's 10 Sephira, but do you see the 3 triads? Okay, got the top triad, and that's bag. And we got the triad right under that, that's RII. And then we've got 4 things at the very bottom. That's called TEX. That's what we did last night. We did TEX. Now, each of the Sephira represent an angel or a governor. So there's like 4 governors in TEX. Okay. And there's 3 governors in the other 2 triads. TEX is so low. You're probably drifting in and out of TEX right now, just listening to me, okay? TEX is so low that it's pushing against the membrane of these 30 Aethers that spread out like a glass onion. And it's the only one that's bumping right against the physical plane. So it has 4 governors. The rest will only have 3. So the 30th Aether is called TEX. That's at the very bottom. There's 4 governors in TEX. But then the next higher up are the next Aether. And that's called RII. And RII has its own 3 governors. And the next Aether, Aether 28, is called BAG. Okay, or 30, 29. Okay, it's called BAG, and BAG has 3 governors, and they live there. Okay, that's at the very bottom. And as far as we can compare apples to apples, when comparing this to the Kabbalistic way of looking at things, we feel, oh, okay, I got that. But the rest, the next 3 Aethers higher, don't start at Malkuth. They don't have a Malkuth. Okay. Well, yes, they do. Because what happens is, and look at these as frequencies, layers and layers and frequencies of, like you're trying to mix an egg inside a batter, okay? This whole tree of life is then crumpled up into a little ball. And that little ball becomes the Malkuth of the next higher level. The next 3 Aethers. And then that tree of life is wrapped up. All of the dynamics of all those trees of life are still in there, just like a murdered body that's placed in a car, and the car is crunched down at the the body's still in there, okay, but it keeps getting more and more mixed, and it goes all the way up. Okay, how did these the idea of all of this 30 Aethers and governors, and how did that all come to Dee and Kelly? And the story is, and I know I'm taking up too much time, the story is one of the most amazing magical stories that has ever been documented, and it was documented. I'm going to summarize this almost like a fairy tale. Dee was a spy as well as a magician, okay? He was working for Queen Elizabeth. He loved Queen Elizabeth. He helped get her on the throne with his advice. He loved her. And he wanted to remote view on her enemies in Europe. He just didn't want to keep getting on a ship and clopping around Europe to spy on people. He just wanted to tune in on them. That's why he got into the magic thing. Hey, how do I tune in? I'll have angels tell me what's going on. Yeah. Dee wanted to know, especially at this particular time, and it's late in the relationship between Dee and Kelly, which is less than 3 years. He really wanted to know if his friend Prince Lasky was ever going to ascend the throne of Poland. And they had gotten a hold of a very important angel in his own right called Malvich. And it was almost like a situation where he said, Malvich, I want to know if my friend Prince Lasky is ever going to ascend the throne in Poland. Can you put me in touch with an angel that can tell me about that? And Malvich goes, Sure, no problem. But in order for you to communicate with that angel, you're going to have to start thinking more like an angel yourself. Just, it's like you got to pick up the language. Okay, so you got to sort of figure out, first of all, what we angels think about as the surface of your puny little planet. There's 91 parts of the Earth, and each of them are governed by, at least they're temporarily governed by, because they trade places often. Each of them's governed by a specific governor. So there's a governor for Poland. Okay, that's the guy you want to get at. But in order for you to even understand the depth of what you're doing there are 91 parts of the surface of the Earth. And I'm going to give you a list of their names. That's what it started with. A list of names. Each name had 7 letters, and each name started with a capital letter. And they were numbered 1 through 91. Got that? Then Dee and Kelly went off and did something. They did other magic for about 2 weeks, and there'll be plenty of people, including the brilliant David Jones, who really has a grasp on this particular situation, and I quote him liberally in this book. But then Kelly started to have visions, okay? And the angels say, okay, we're going to pick this project up. And Dee was instructed to make a grid, just like graph paper, okay? Make a grid, 12 or 13 by 12. Just make a blank grid, please. Blank grid. And so he did that. And then the angel said, make another. And he did. And then the angel said, make another. And the angel said, make another. And Dee did it. And then put them in a square. And then he identified those squares, just not fire, water, air, and earth, which we do nowadays, but he identified them just by those little symbols you see. That would be for water, and that would be for air. See the T with the thing down it? And that would be for earth, and that sunshiny thing there, it would be for fire, or that we call fire. But at the moment, they were just designated by the corners and those symbols. Okay. Now there's an order to all of this. And remember, 2 weeks before, they had a list of 21 names. Okay. Then in a vision, which things started to appear on the blank grids, and they were called, in the diaries, they were called pricks. Pricks started to appear on the grids. And so if you can imagine these 4 grids with hundreds and hundreds of pricks, then visually, out of the crystal, or out of the mirror, I'm not sure, I think they were working with a crystal, smoke crystal at that time, that they could see with their eyeballs squiggly lines in yellow that looked something like those. squiggly lines started to float out of the crystal and settle on the grids. Settled right on the pricks. And then another one. And then another one. And Dee was busy because they'd disappear pretty soon, so he only had moments to work with as they settled down on this. Until it was all full, like this. Then Dee thought to himself in the evening, that was a good day's work, but in the evening, I think Dee was looking over the material. I don't know when he slept. And then he noticed that no two of those squiggly lines crossed each other. Not only that, but all of them, the squiggly lines, joined only 7 pricks. He was amazed at that. Okay, and you got to admit, it's a pretty cool thing. In the next day's vision, or vision soon thereafter, Kelly was told, now we were going to fill in all of those squares with letters. And we're going to do it just straightforward, starting at the top left and going all the way across the first left row, or the first row, and then they dictated the second line, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and the sixth, until all of the squares were filled with a letter. And some of the letters were capitalized, but most of them were not. Some were even, fewer still, were even spelled backwards. And that seemed amazing. Okay, the thing was forming something. And for some reason, Dee went back, because there were 91 of these. Dee went back 2 weeks in his diary, and he looked at that list of names. 7 letters, each beginning with a capital letter and containing 7 letters that were assigned to parts of the earth as governors of parts of the earth. And what he found was this. All the squiggly lines, which he called symmetrical characters, all the squiggly lines, and this is just the water tablet. All the squiggly lines have those sigils in perfectly neat order. There's a couple of bumps in the dictation and stuff, but okay. So this, in what we now call the water tablet, at the very top section of the water tablet, we've got TEX, the 30th Aethers for governors. 91 is Dazanal, or Dazanal, because there's alternate spelling. Dazanal, Advorpt, Jemnimb, and Taoagla. And that's their sigils. Now that's pretty damn impressive. That's not only a double blind, that's a triple blind and a quadruple blind and everything else. Now there's only one Enochian call. It's the 19th call. The 18th take care of everything that we understand as the elemental tablets But the 19th call breaks through that membrane into the glass onion of the 30 Aethers. Only one word is changed in that call, and that's the word in the first line. Here, this one is for TEX, so it says Madrias, dies prof TEX. And then the call continues as normal. Tismikao, senir kaos ko, fis valsis rasciada, nunca kahulim, etc. And that chant, especially when you chant it in 95 degrees, zones you out and takes you to TEX, and in TEX you can at least attempt to speak to somebody on that level to show you the fuck around that Aether, and that's one of those governors. Okay. They help you in the vision. Each of them shows a different aspect, a different quality of the Aether that you're in. And usually at the moment, you as a magician are in special need for one particular little message or another. So it's probably one of those governors that's going to take you in hand or appear as a crow, giant crow, and tells you to get on its back, and it'll take you to see what you need to see at this particular level. Does that make any sense? I didn't think it would. And if it isn't, take pity on me, because this morning that was still fresh in my mind. Okay. Anyway, that's it. All of this I put into hopefully a more logical and digestible order from the very beginning of Dee and Kelly's relationship all the way up to how modern magicians are using this, how Crowley used it, how the Golden Dawn used it, all in the book Enochian Vision Magic. Okay. That's it. I'm going to stop today. We've got very, very good friends from out of town, from North Carolina. They're going to take us someplace cool tonight and take us to dinner, and I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm truly looking forward to next Monday's Monday Night Magic class, because it will be the fourth and final of this four-week class on Enochian magic, scratching the scratching of the scratches of the scratching the surface of Enochian. And then after that, 2 weeks from tomorrow, we'll start something else, because we plan to continue Monday Night Magic class as long as we can. So that's that. Continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.